This video is about our angels, our pets, and how I had a senior dog. I had a senior dog come into my life exactly when my journey started. And she left me within the month of my full recovery. And I knew, when I had her, what her purpose was. Like, I just knew. Some people, they don't realize it. So sometimes they see it later on. But yeah, I had a senior dog. She was a lab retriever. There we go. Lab retriever, shepherd mix, black, female. Her name was Chloe. So when I started my journey, I was bedridden. And this is the way it happened. Her owner, he passed away. It was a sad situation. And she was already at that moment, I think she was like 12 and a half or 13, right? She was getting older. She was old. I think she was, when we got her, she was pretty old. And she was, she wasn't taken care of near the tail end of the owner's life because of certain scenarios and situations. So, but that didn't matter. For her, it was still traumatic because it was her human. And the person that took care of her had a lot of passion for animals, and he was a great owner. Took her everywhere. So she was always out swimming, always living life to the fullest. And then the tail end, life got rocky. He passed away, and then she was there when it happened. So it was traumatic, like it would be for anybody when you lose someone. And she needed a place to go. And at the time, the last thing on my mind was to have an animal, especially a senior dog, right? My wife's like, a friend of mine, his family, it was a friend of ours' brother who passed away. And his dog needed a place to stay, right? So we're like, well, my wife's like, why don't we just take her for now and we can feed her so she has a place to stay? I'm like, and I'm a person that's like, yeah, I love animals. I like dogs, but I was never a dog guy. I was a cat guy. I grew up with cats, right? I grew up with these 3 cats that lived to be in their 20s. They were outdoor cats. They were happy. They're always, they're in a pack. And they were always outside exploring the world, right? And they lived to be in their 20s. And they ate mediocre, cheap canned food, right? And they were thrivingly healthy and happy. And it was hard when they passed, of course, and that's all I knew was just cats. Cats are special, right? They're beautiful. They give you love. But I never really connected with an animal until I met Chloe. And it's weird because it was a busted up old dog, right? And I was like, I don't want to deal with a senior dog, but we got to bring her in because I don't like the idea of, me thinking, well, where's this dog going to go? Where's she going to go? And, oh, no, that's not right. We'll bring her in. That's fine. My wife already made her mind. And she said, no, we're bringing the dog. I'm like, okay. So you got to take care of her too, though. You got to help. I'm like, I can barely leave my room. Like, I can't do anything. And at the time I didn't know, but this dog was going to help me with my recovery big time. Because, the first day I saw the dog, and it was like, it had anxiety. It was miserable. It was sad. You could see it in his face. It was, it was in a survival state. And I was just looking at it, because, my routine was to get up and kind of like, and I saw her sitting there kind of looking at my periphery in my direction, but she would never look at me in my eyes. She always would look beside you. And I was like, all right, we got to give her a bath. And she did not like the idea of a bath. So I was like, fuck it. I put my health on the side for a couple of days to get this dog straight. I was like, okay. And my wife's like, well, how are we going to give her a bath? She doesn't want to, she's scared. And I'm like, fuck it. So I got her by the collar, got a leash, and I said, let's go. We're going downstairs. We're going to have a bath. And I was, I took the bull by the horns type of thing. I was the alpha male. And the dog just surrendered, gave in. It just decided and chose at that moment to just trust me, because the suffering was just not worth it. And I gave her a bath, and she listened to me. She didn't love it, but I gave her a bath, and I was engaging, right? I was, we got to take care of this dog. We're going to make sure I got to get her real clean. We got to dry her off. And, and it was the first time me and her had a connection, right? For me, it was, I broke through, I got her clean. Okay, let's bring her upstairs. And then, at that time I stayed home all the time. I didn't have a routine. I had nothing to do. I was just wallowing in my symptoms. And my wife, she would go to work, and then it was, well, it's up to me to take care of this animal. So for the first couple of days, the dog was sitting that end and I was sitting this end. And my wife would walk it when she got home. And in the mornings before she went to work, and after work she walked the dog, because I couldn't, right? I was stuck inside. And this is when I started doing DNRS. So I started to do the online learning, and then the dog's there, and eventually I was like, I'll feed it. Here's your food, eat your food. Okay, you gotta go pee pee. All right, let's go. I put the leash on, and it was starting to light up because we get to go outside. So I just walk it around the cul-de-sac. Is that what you call it? Cul-de-sac? The boulevard, right? And then we'd go back in, and that was it. And within a week, me and that dog were like this. Like that. Peas and carrots. We grew together really quick. It didn't take long. The first couple of days was like, who's this, old dog that I got to deal with? And I felt sorry for her, but I was like, I'm dealing with my shit right now, right? And this dog's probably like, oh, where am I? What am I doing? What's going on? I'm alone, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I got to latch onto this guy. I got to trust this guy. That's all I got. I got to trust. So she started to follow me everywhere I went. And she became my buddy, my best friend, in a short period of time. And she started to become my routine. So before, I would be in bed and I wouldn't get up till 2 p.m. Right? And then getting up was horrible. I didn't like being up. I didn't like being outside my room. I was just wallowing in my symptoms. And I went to bed usually at 3 a.m. every day. And that was my routine. It was a really sad, depressing routine. It was not good. It was not, And, I started doing DNRS, and I started to change my routine. And my dog, Chloe, she had to go pee. And she had to go for walks. And she was relentless. Oh, it's funny. Dolly looked at me when I said that. Walks and pee. You relax. I'm telling a story. So she would bug me and move her nose out. Like, I'd be laying in bed just doing nothing, and she would relentlessly get me to take her out for pee. And the dog's got to pee. So I'd get up, get my clothes on. This is like near the winter time. And I'd take her out. And it would be like going through a war zone, of course, right? Being outside, I didn't like it. And then I was like, okay, I got to give her some exercise. Like, she needs to walk around the block at least. So then I'm like, all right, I put the leash on her. I'm like, okay, let's go walk around the block. And she was well behaved, right? I got a dog that was fully trained already. Polite, it made it easy for me. And I think that, whatever you want to call it, if it was God that was looking out for me, consciousness, my higher self, my guides, or everything in one, trying to make me move forward in my life and making me walk towards recovery. And they sent me an angel to help me with that. And I know without a question that that's what happened. So, she came to me in the right time. It was the tail end of her life, and I was able to give her an amazing life because I took care of her. I loved her, and she loved me. So yeah, I started to walk her around the block, once around the block, and I did that 2 times a day, right? She's well behaved, and eventually, I was lucky. I didn't have to put a leash on her anymore. She was always right beside me, so I could go freely anywhere with her. I started to walk further. So sometimes I would walk within like 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers in my area. And we had a routine. And this is when I started having routines, right? For the longest time, I was inside. But eventually I started to come outside because I wanted to have adventures with my dog. I thought, she's old. We got to get out there. Before she passes away, I want to give her a good life, right? And I had something to engage in. So the spring started to come. It was still snow around, so I went on trails with her where there's not too many people. She could run free, and she loved it. And she became my dog, and she looked at me like I was her owner, and you could see that she loved me. So that connection I've never had before with an animal, right? Sure, I had cats, but it wasn't the same like it was with Chloe. And I think what I'm trying to say is, if you have a pet near you or you have pets around, use them to your advantage, right? Use them as opportunities to spend time with them, love them. Because, when you put them in your daily routine, you're not going to notice that your routine so much, and you're going to engage without noticing that you're, engaging, or you have to engage. It's not going to be allow and engage. It's going to be allow, okay, I got to take the dog out for a pee. Oh, the dog's always going to be pulling you to live life, right? The dog's going to be pulling you to recovery. If you take the chance, just trust me, the dog is there to support you. And I'm sure people are already doing that now. They're probably like, oh my goodness, yeah, it's so true. They're like, Angel, you were sent to me at the right time too. I know what you mean, right? It's true. They get sent to you at the right time. So take advantage of it, because it's only going to be good times with the dog. You're going to see them and how they're happy, and how when you do things together, you have this deep connection, and it becomes a daily routine that you love, right? And it's somebody that's there kind of like a companion that, you're not so alone through this journey, right? When I did my visuals every day, I parked. I'll show you where I am. Me and her came here every day. So this was, a trail. I'd park here nice and quiet. And I had a car at that time, so she would sit in the back here. I'd give her water. First I would walk her, take her go pee, and she would sit in the back, drink her water, and she would just chill out. Right? And then I'd get all cozy, get my tea ready, and I'd start doing my visuals. And she was so well behaved, right? She was a good sport. Once I was done my visuals, I'd take her somewhere for a quick walk, and then that was my routine. And I had this every day. So I'd get up, do the bed, take a shower, do a daily dare, take my dog for a quick pee, and then we'd, go, walk her. And it's interesting. The memories are all coming back. I'd walk her, and then we'd do my visuals. And this was amazing because she'd sit there. It'd be like, somebody's observing you do the visuals. It's such a comforting feeling because you have like a companion, a partner in crime with you. You've got a partner that's exploring life with you. It's the best. So, I did my visuals. After my visuals, take her for another walk, pee, right? And that filled up my schedule pretty good. Like that was probably 40% of my schedule, just taking her pee, going for walks, doing my vegetables. And that was also a form of playtime for me, raising my vibration, right? Great routine. And I did that for 1.5, 2 years with her. And eventually she passed away in April. And she passed away right when I recovered. And the synchronicities and the clarity that I got afterwards, while it was happening, I knew why she was there. And I had a feeling when she was going to go. A gut instinct, right? I knew it would be in the springtime. I knew it would be in April. Right? The first April that rolled around, I was like, because her health would go up and down, right? And I think if she wasn't with me, she would have probably passed away at her age at 13. But she had a mission, she had a purpose. So her health dramatically improved for that 1.5 years, just to hold on, just to support my journey to get me back on track. And she also had a good time too. Like, we enjoyed each other. We were at the beach in the summertime, probably 4 times a week. And a drive to the beach is 1.5 hours away from home, from where I live. And she loved going to the beach. She loved going to the farm. She was an amazing swimmer. Like, as soon as she saw the beach, she would be wincing and barking and freaking out, right? And it made me happy to see her get excited like that. I loved it. And I kind of lived my life around her, because when she was happy, it would make me happy. And it brought my baseline down, turned off alarms, and it made, I started hardwiring happiness through her excitement, right? I put the effort into her because it helped me. And they become an extension of you. When you're feeling off, they feel off, right? She had anxiety like me. And we had our days where we're both, freaking out, having our off days. And, I'd have a good day and she'd have an off day, and then I'd just be with her and she'd be back to normal. I could do that with her. I could do that to her, right? Calm her down. Just my presence it's all she cared about. If she didn't see that I wasn't around, she would, get anxious and worried. So she was attached to my hip in a way. And then it was interesting because I didn't want her to, I dragged it out a bit. And, I was always looking for the right time, because putting down, an animal, especially a pet that you love so much, that's a part of your soul, is really, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. So I kind of mentally prepared for it. And, that spring came along and she was still getting up, motivated to go outside, but she started to decline. And I knew she had health problems. She had cancer. Right? But the cancer seemed to be just chilling out for the 2 years or the 1.5 years that we were together. And it was like on simmer or pause. And then it was time for her to transition. So what we did is we did it in my car, in the back seat. I sat with her, and she was happy I sat with her, because I rarely sat with her in the back seat. But that was her spot, and this was my spot. And that was our thing, right? Driving everywhere, exploring, going to the beach, doing things. That's all we did. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., me and her were out doing things. We come home at lunch to eat, right? She'd eat, blah, 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 eat, ready to go, right? We'd come home, have a meal, eat, and she's like, all right, let's go. We're out. All right, let's go. And we were out again. So yeah, when it was that time, I had to, I looked at her, I'm like, I think it's soon. And I would ask her, I'm like, sometimes there were some false alarms. I didn't feel it right. But then I was like, you know what? She'll tell me when it's time. Right? And that that day came and I asked her, I'm like, Chloe, do you want to go? Is it time now? And she never really liked to look at me in my eyes, right? And at that day, that moment, she looked straight in my eyes and didn't say anything, didn't bark, didn't do anything, just looked at me. And we stared in each other's eyes for like a minute. We had a moment, and, you know, she wasn't sad, she wasn't anything. She was just, it felt like like half of her was already, you know, at the other side. Like she was already on the process of leaving. And she was just trying to make me comfortable. She was trying to make it the most comfortable experience for me so that I wouldn't be in a trauma loop right? It was hard enough as it was. The way she left was the most peaceful way that I was so grateful that it happened this way. So I asked her, I'm like, is it time? And then she looked at me, and she never looked at me. I said, okay, let's do it. So then made an appointment. She sat in the back with me, and she was very calm, right? She was almost happy. She trusted me. And the doctor, or the vet, she was very, very understanding. She understood. She made sure that the dog was comfortable first, you know, relax. She gave her a shot to relax her. And then they did it. And that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But she left peacefully. And yeah, when she, you know, the next couple of days was really hard because I had an empty, you know, I had this empty feeling in my heart. It left a big hole. And I was like, how am I going to get over this? This is, you know, I understand she had to go. I was preparing for it. It was the hardest thing I ever did. I never felt so sad in my life. And then I started also getting worried, like, how am I going to process this loss? I'm like, I'm never going to have her again. But I just did the methods that I did with everything else. I felt the emotions, and they were so hard. They were very hard, of course, right? But before, you know, a year before that, I remember telling myself, you know, I wish I got her earlier so that we could really explore a lot more things, because she's a senior dog, and I think she was giving me at the right time, because, you know, when you're going through things, when somebody's sick and ill, you don't want to have a puppy with a lot of energy. That's just too much. I think I was given a senior dog because it fit perfectly. The puzzle fit perfectly for me, and it was a good support system for me to recover, and vice versa, me for her. I was able to give her a good transitioning, comfortable one with love and comfort, and she's able to help me with the right amount of energy. Not too much energy, right? Just the right amount of energy that got me back on track. So she was that missing puzzle in my life, and it was a perfect fit, right? This old senior dog became my world. Like she was everything to me. So yeah, a year before that, I was thinking, you know, I wish I could have had you earlier, like, so that you and me, like, so you could be here for another 10 years, right? Maybe not such a big version, maybe like a smaller version, so that with car rides, because sometimes she's so big, it's a big beast of a bear dog. I'm in this car, and, you know, she would get sore, right? Sitting in the same spot forever. So I tried to switch it up. I tried to get her in the front seat, and then she'd be like all laying like awkward. And I'm like, especially with a senior dog with arthritis, it's not a good time. She'll complain after 5 minutes. So, you know, I was thinking, you know, I wish she would, I had you when you were, you know, full of energy, so we could just walk without any limits. Walk for 10 kilometers and you'd be right with me, and go swimming all day. And, you know, I'm like, she had her purpose, and she fulfilled that purpose amazingly, but I wanted more. And I felt sad because it was, you know, I'm like, I never got to experience you when you were young. I only know the tail end of the senior years of this, you know, animal, this entity, this being at the tail end. And it was beautiful, And that's why I just like, just imagine what it would be like if I would have known you when you were like two or 5 or 10, you know? So then I started to look, I'm like, is there dogs that are just like her? I want a dog just like her, but a smaller version. And I would ask people, I'm like, does this dog like to swim? No, they don't like swimming. No, that breed isn't, I'd look at, Frenchies and pugs, and I'm like, do they like to walk though? Yeah, but this one, they get tired really quick. I'm like, okay, I need a dog that can walk a lot and loves the water and is a little bit smaller, right? I had a lot of, like, I wanted Chloe, but just a mini version. And, I was going through, a year later when she passed away, I was like, I'm not going to get another dog. I want to respect my dog, and I don't want to replace her. That was my feeling, right? It was weird because a couple of days later, I told my buddy, I was like, yo, man, you just lost your dog, I heard, eh? Like a month ago. He's like, yeah, man. I'm like, yeah, I lost mine, and I needed some support. I needed somebody to help me. And he's like, oh, dude, man, it's tough, man. I'm fucking, I can't stop. I still cry. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, yeah, man, like, I don't want to get a dog right now, but, in the future, I don't want to feel guilty to say this, but I'm gonna say it. I don't ever want to have a life without dogs anymore. That's it. This is, from now on, I will always have dogs in my life, because dogs make your life amazing, right? Every situation, you put a dog in there, it multiplies by 1,000, right? Because not only that, but they force you to get out in nature. They force you to balance yourself out in nature, right? They got to pee. You want to make them happy. So okay, let's get it out in nature. And that's only good for you. It's only healthy for you. So I said from that day on, I'm going to get a dog, but I'm going to wait a year until I process this grief. And he's like, yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I'm like, but hey, if you hear anything, when you get a dog in the future, when you're ready, like in 6 months or a year, let me know. Then maybe I'll hop along and get a dog from that same breeder that you get it from. He's like, yeah, for sure, man. That's cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, give it time, man. I totally hear you. So then 10 minutes later, right, his wife sends him pictures of puppies that her friend in a farm, her dog had puppies and whatever, and they're, for sale. And he showed me pictures. He's like, yo, man, I know you told me, like, you don't want to know anything about dogs right now, but I just got this picture of puppies that you should take a look at. And I looked at the picture, and it looked like a small version of Chloe. I was like, what the No, I believe in synchronicities, but this is getting stupid. Like, come on. That's just a once off. It's not a sign. Like, I just had a dog. I'm still hurting, right? I don't want to, like, what? It's been a week and a half, and I'm already looking at another puppy? Like, that's a slap in the face. Like, I felt guilty about it. He's like, I'm like, wait a minute. So you said that your wife doesn't want you to get a dog? He's like, no, she doesn't want me to get a dog. I asked like 10 times. She just said no, because she's too hurt by the dog that just passed away. I'm thinking in my head, okay, so if she doesn't want a dog, why did she send him pictures of puppies? And I'm thinking, maybe this is something that, the universe, my guides, or God, or consciousness is trying to hint that I should be having a dog, or I should look into this. Because before Chloe passed away, I told her, you're coming back to me. Okay, let's make a deal. And I know she agreed with that. She wants to come back. I wanted to be reunited with Chloe. So then I thought, well, I did, want to have another dog in the future, but, the guilt, I don't know. He's like, dude, maybe it's a sign. I don't know. I'm like, okay, what's the mix? Like, is it a purebred? What is it, a lab? He's like, it's lab, shepherd, and collie. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's like this, almost the same as Chloe. Okay. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, she's sending him pictures of puppies. She doesn't want dogs, but then he sends me the pictures within like a couple of 10 minutes later, and I'm like, okay, give me the information. I'll take a look. right? So I go down to the farm and I took a look at these puppies. And my wife's like, yeah, just, slay with them and then, just see if you see a connection with any of them. All right. I'm like, so there's like 9 puppies. All of them look like they're short-haired except for this one. Gotta love it when she's like, well, she had a dream. All these puppies looked the same except for the one. And the one had the long, shaggy hair just like Chloe. She looked just like Chloe. I'm like, okay. Is that sign number 2? There's too many, there's already a couple synchronicities there. There's already 3 synchronicities there, right? I'm like, all right. And the funny thing is, she's the only one that looked like Chloe. She was the only one that looked like Chloe, and she was the one that came up to me first. And, licking me and wouldn't just leave me alone. I was like, no, but I want to check these other, hey, yeah, you're cute, but oh my God, I want to check these other guys out. And then she just wouldn't leave me alone. I'm like, and my daughter and my wife, I sent pictures like, that's the one. I'm like, I want to make sure I picked the right one. If Chloe's coming back to me, I want to make sure. And they're like, hello? Like, and now that I think about it, was I fucking that stupid? The dog that looks just like Chloe is harassing me. And, my wife and my daughter are like, hello? I'm like, you know what? And I told the owners, can you put this one on hold? I want to give it a week and think about it. And I want to, come back on Monday and take a look and see, if there's still a connection or what. Just to double check. They're like, that's fine. So I came back and they were all asleep. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll sit down. I'll wait till they wake up. So I'm laying down beside him, and that dog woke up and came right to me, and the other ones they stayed asleep. I'm like, okay, I'm taking this one, and her name's gonna be Dolly, and I'm gonna take. My wife's like, why don't we get another one? We'll get a boy. I'm like, all right, let's get another one. And there's only one boy left, so I'm like, we'll get this one to even it out. And they're like, okay, and these dogs were really cheap. $200 each. Another synchronicity there, I don't know. Like, it was like consciousness was going, we're going to make it affordable so you are getting Chloe back because you need to get over this grieving period and move on with your life. So we need you to, you've recovered. You need to let go of Chloe, but she's going to come back to you through these puppies. All right? And we're going to make it cheap for you. I'm like, okay. Because I noticed, I'm like, this is interesting. I'm seeing a lot of synchronicities. So then, I took them home, and they were a shit show. So much energy. Oh, my goodness. And now I'm starting to realize, you know what? You know what's hilarious? A couple months later, I realized my prayers were answered because I wanted a dog just like Chloe, but fresh and new, like the new model, and a dog that can handle going for walks and love swimming. But I got like a 2.0 turbo version of her. Dolly is just so much high energy. Well, she's a collie, right? It's like the consciousness, where God was like, yeah, we'll give him that. Let's put him a little bit of collie in there. So she's, a lot of energy. He's going to be going on walks everywhere. And Lemmy's going to be a good balance. He's going to be a sweetheart. It's going to be good for the wife. It's perfect. He's going to love it. And another puzzle fits perfectly into my new chapter in my life. And I called Dolly Chloe for the first couple of weeks. And she, a lot of the same similar personality traits. Really smart, and some of the things very similar. So it's just interesting. I think Chloe came back to me. I'm almost convinced that her soul split into 2, and she's in both of these guys. It's crazy. So, and the thing is, having these dogs, I was engaged with them constantly, and I got over the heartbreak of losing my friend Chloe. Within a month, I was fine. I was okay. I processed all the emotions right? It was hard. There was times where I'd get a spike and I'd just be choking and crying. But I also didn't push away my emotions. I allowed them to be there, and I felt them. I wanted to feel them. I wanted to feel what it was like to lose an animal that I loved. An animal like Chloe that meant so much to me. And I didn't want to not feel those emotions. I did it also for respect for her. I think, it's something that you do is like, I need to be choked up. I want to be choked up. I want to feel these emotions. Because for me, they were learning lessons. Like, it was like, this is part of life. This is why we're here on this planet, to experience things like this, the contrast and the emotions. So I treated it like being a curious observer and feeling these feelings. And it was hard, but it was also beautiful at the same time. I'm forever grateful for Chloe that she was there at the right time to help me out, and that we experienced all the things that we did. We explored everywhere. All the things that we went to the beach. All the things we did. I'm happy we did things together. It made my journey a lot more fun. And because of her, I was forced to be in nature, and I really think she was that big nugget that got me on a routine, because I find routine is really important with recovery. I wasn't stuck at home. I was out. Because if you're stuck at home, you're gonna, your alarms are gonna bait you, and you're gonna lose, right? So, for those of you that have a dog, or a pet, or a cat even, take this as an opportunity to engage with them, right? They're there to support you. They're there to love you. Love them back. And I promise you, it's going to make your journey a lot easier. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a beautiful thing. It's not going to be something that's hell on earth. It's going to be something that you look back and go, man, that was amazing. Or I actually did more things in life when I was sick with my elderly dog, my senior dog, than I did in my 20s and my teens, right? I was doing more things physically than I ever could in my life. And this was in my healing journey. So, yeah, this is my story about Chloe, and how much she was a part of my healing journey. And I'll never forget her.